Welcome everyone to this first podcast of the year 2025. Wow, I'm so excited that we can come here. This is your host, Dr. Michael Koku, on the Leadership Advancement Mentorship Podcast. I have with me today's a great guest, an author, speaker, coach, and trainer, and Maxwell Leadership Certified. And so Jeff is with us today. Jeff, can we meet you, please? Can you tell people who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. I am in South Carolina. I know you'd mentioned that you got some snow today. Thankfully, it's 60 degrees today.
Oh, wow, that's not
Yeah,
fair.
I know, but it's supposed to get into the 30s over the next couple of days. So, but we have one nice day today. But yeah, I mean, what I do is just more, I would say, based on what God's blessed me, with and by, and it's just to go to try to help people discover, options and things that they might not have been able to see before. So I have a passion for people. I have a passion for trying to uncover and help people kind of sort through some ideas that they may have been kind of stuck with. So as a coach and as a trainer here, it brings a lot of joy to be able to, use that leadership coach option that we get. And even further yet, like you mentioned too, 2 books came from all that. So it's just been a blessing to be able to, be in that space and to even write about it some.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. And you're doing a great job. And Jeff, I'm always really interested in this question when I
Mm-hmm.
ask leaders on this platform. Because this is a leadership advancement mentorship podcast where we emphasize the journey of every leader that we privilege to have on this platform. Because leaders are not born, they are made, and there's this kind of way some people think that some people are born leader. I believe everyone has that leadership potential. Dr. John
That's
Maxwell,
right.
our mentor, wrote the book, Developing the Leader Within You. That means there's a leader within you. One of the books that I just finished reading is called, How to Be a Leader Without a Leader That Has No Title, by
Mm-hmm.
Robin Sharma. It really talks about the principle of leadership that you don't need a title to lead. And this is all about us finding the inner leader within us. So, at what point in your life did you become aware of the leader within you? At what point, and who help you to become aware of that? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Um, so growing up, I've always had positions, and people confuse leadership and management. But
Hmm.
I've always had a position, even at McDonald's, where I trained, the people to run cash registers and fry the fries and all that kind of thing. But, I knew that I was blessed uniquely as everybody is, with very specific gifts. And I agree, everybody is a leader. It's just, are they willing to exercise and show application
Hmm.
with those leadership characteristics?
Hmm.
But I'll say, the real big wake up call for me was right around COVID when
Hmm.
it first came out. And, I even wrote about this as to why my first book came to publish. But my wife almost passed away with COVID. And, you know,
Hmm.
sometimes we just sit around thinking that we're invincible. I know that I kind of thought that a little bit, and that
Hmm.
life will just kind of wait for us all. And
Hmm.
and it was at that point in time when I realized, wow, this is serious stuff. I'm getting older, and so I really kind of had a paradigm shift in my thinking and in my mindset to say, I'm given one life, and
Hmm.
and I need to, because at the end of the day, I want to hear with whom I'm well pleased. um,
Hmm.
you know and I know that God has blessed me with several talents, and blesses us all.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be that evil, wicked servant that buried that talent in the sand. So
Hmm.
it was just kind of like that aha moment where I took my 2 and my 5 talents, and I realized, hey, I want to go out and multiply these, so I can not just multiply them for
Hmm.
myself, but to make it more kingdom impactful.
Hmm.
So it's just been really special for
So
me
who
to,
helped you? Who helped you to become aware of that leader within you? Did somebody help
well,
you with that, or you just
Yeah. So, I mean, along that journey though, I just seen a lot of great people, a lot of great leaders that have, showcased and displayed that ahead of me. My parents for sure. I wrote in my first book, I talked about level 5 leaders like Jim Collins talks about in Good to Great.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to be able to have 3 of those in my life to really showcase what leadership looks like and who it's for and who it's not for, and who it's not. It's not a self-serving thing. It's something that we're trying to, like I said, go out and we'll make disciples of every nation. So I just had a lot of people that have been very specific on ways to and how to lead to make the community better, to make our families better, our churches better. So I've had tremendous examples, but it was just at that point in time where I realized, I know I've got some of those characteristics myself, and I better actually utilize those for His glory.
So you mean your self-awareness of the leader within you came through when you see role models that were surrounding you. That's how you saw how they were leading, and you just realized that, wow, I got this within me. And is that what you mean?
Yeah, and with the idea too that time was standing still for nobody, so I better utilize those, while I still am able to make,
So
and influence others well.
At what age were you at that time? At what point did you realize that awareness came on you? At what point?
I would say about 5 years ago when I really, kind of recognized, hey, it's time to actually be a bit more serious about this. Like I said, all throughout my vocational life, I've had a lot of manager titles, and I've led, I managed people, and I did a pretty good job even where I led them also. But it just got to be where my selfless, where I try to be selfless leader, like that switch flipped, and I realized, when
so
my
that
wife
was like
almost
5 years ago for you.
Yeah, that's when where my wife almost passed away from COVID. It's like, hey, I better take this seriously because God blessed me, and I take that seriously. So I want to try to utilize that for to do well and to bless community well.
Wow. So when you became aware of that leadership potential, so how did you how did you invest in your growth as a leader? Because I always like people to know that even awareness is the first stage to change, and then the second stage is accepting personal responsibility for your personal growth and development that allow that leaders within you to emerge. So what was the price point like? What price did you pay to grow yourself as a leader? We know there's no finishing line. We still all work in progress. But what took you from point A, the point of awareness, to point B, where you are at the moment? So how have you grown that leadership, and what price have you paid? Thank you.
Yeah, and like you say, there's no arrival. You never stop learning. You shouldn't stop learning to that point. But it just got to be where I couldn't get enough. Right around that time, about 5 years ago, I might not have read one book every 10 decades, or every 10 years, one decade. I just wasn't a reader. But then at that 5 years ago, I just started reading a little bit, reading more. And then I start to pay attention to podcasts. I start following speakers, going on YouTube and kind of hearing, different conversations that were had. And it just got to be where I couldn't get enough. Became a Maxwell coach back in August 22. Going to be going to my sixth one in a row here in March. But it's like your circle of awareness and your circle of influence. I wanted to surround myself by people and by things that were going to help me grow, so I could then help others grow. And really took very seriously the law of the lid, that if I'm not growing myself, I can't help other people grow.
Yeah.
So it just my appetite hasn't been quenched yet. And I just keep waking up blessed with what I get to do, and I'm just hungry for more. But more so because I can help out and help engage people to really break down barriers and obstacles and walls that they might have had where they self-created.
Wow, that's awesome. So tell us, what price have you paid? What has it cost you to invest in your leadership growth? Yeah.
I mean, in terms of price, I mean, it's been a lot of time. It's been, different, spots away from, the family. It's been, different, spots where you have to really stay very structured and very organized, in terms of the time away from office. You got to be very diligent about that. But from and I don't even consider it paying, but it's more investing, from the time that's being invested. Right off the go, there's a lot of things that are going on, and sure, sometimes it'd be easier to put the book down or to not listen to that podcast. But it's kind of where I'm really searching to see how I can lead well, but it's going to take some of that upfront investment to be able to give back.
Wow, that's awesome. And I believe this investment also includes monetary investment. It has cost you a lot of dollars to grow yourself, and because a lot of people, they just, well, wow, they want to become a leader. They don't know that there's a price point to it. Dr. John Maxwell mentioned the first book that he bought on a growth plan, that costs. It took him and his wife 6 months to put the money together, and they have to sacrifice vacation, and he has to skip lunch many times, because a lot of people, they want to be a leader, but they're not ready to pay the price. The price will include your time. It will include, it will cost you some relationship. It also costs you money.
A
lot of people, they would rather buy use money to buy clothes than to buy books. One of my greatest assets is my library. I order for books, consistently to grow myself. And that's why, because if you stop growing, you will stop leading. So
that's right.
Growth is very crucial and vital for leadership. So let's talk about your book. And you've written 2 books, and the new one that you just wrote, the other and side of the coin. So tell us, what does this really what does this mean? I know, like, the other side of the coin is just flipping the coin, but tell us, you have much. So why did you decide to choose that title, and why? Tell us.
So and it's just kind of even what you've mentioned before. It's if you want something different for yourself, there's going to be a price that you pay, or where you're going to invest something differently. Because if we continue doing the same thing over and over, we're going to see the same results. Definition of insanity, we're expecting different results. So the other side of the coin, it's taking us, in our everyday lives where, hey, if we want to see something differently done here, here's, a chapter that talks about, how these people, like for instance, I talked about Tim Tebow. He, on his eye blacks of his face here, he wrote John 3:16 during the national championship game. Now that's different, unconventional thinking, but during that game, 90 million people tuned into Google to find out what that verse meant. Now that's different thinking. The game is about football, but he made the game, about his Lord and Savior, where people went on Google to search that out. So it's just things like that. We have a platform that I think so often we don't utilize, because we get so comfortable with what we're so accustomed to, or we are fearful of what other people might think. So I wrote the book with just the where my heart was, where if people, for instance, if they didn't go and do this thing, Rosa Parks, Paul in the Bible, if those two didn't answer the call and led courageously, can you imagine how much further behind as a society we'd be, or how much of the New Testament wouldn't have been written? So it's just I kind of writing and applauding these leaders for going in and answering the call and doing these massively great things. Martin Luther King Jr., he initially wasn't going to talk about the dream, but it was that person that encouraged him and say, tell him about the dream. And that's where I Have a Dream speech actually came from, because he wasn't going to start off by giving that. But it's again, he challenged status quo. While it was his heart's mission, he didn't talk about that initially, but he wanted, he eventually gave this, incredible speech that changed, just life for so many people here, for the betterment of a lot. So it just got to be on my heart, if we continue doing the same thing over and over again, we're going to just stay in that one space and potentially, start to become irrelevant. And that's not what I hope for myself or people I'm surrounded by.
Wow, I like that concept, the other side of the coin. That means as leaders, we helping people to see life in a different way, because the way we view life is the way we're gonna do life. Yeah.
That's right.
And that's really positive. That's something great. That's something awesome. I think that's more have to do with like a synergy that you've been able to, combine, bring out a message, and just by doing the ordinary thing, the mundane
Yeah.
thing, but you've been to turn that moment into pointing some people's attention to something that is more important than something that is ephemeral. Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think this concept is a very good concept. And making as leaders, we need to help people to see the other side of the coin. They may look at nature, but from that nature, we can start showing them something that they don't even really see. So, what has been the greatest challenge to you as a leader? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the book I wrote, it's the other side of the coin, but it takes the idea of we've never done it that way before, and it breaks that mentality down. And I know for myself, even though I'm an innovator and a galvanizer per Patrick Lencioni's 6 Working Geniuses, it's to have the courage to utilize, that and have the consistency of moving ahead, because it's so easy to be caught and trapped in that fear of what people on my Facebook will think, or on LinkedIn, or just, people in my family, what their thoughts are going to be about, hey, why does this guy feel like he should even write this book? So the biggest challenge has been myself. But it's one of those things where, and it's one of my favorite songs, "Fear is a Liar," that was released, I don't know, a few years ago. But it's just understanding that a lot of those things that we kind of slow ourselves down by are just things that we kind of have in our head. And, just about how even if we help out one person with sharing that message, that we've done God's work, and it's so good. So, I want to try to be the best I can be. And in doing so, sometimes it's going to be, being in the face of fear.
Wow, that's awesome. And I like what you said, that fear is a liar.
Yeah,
Because the word fear is false evidence appearing real.
that's right.
So, I mean, it's all falsehood. And it may appear real, but that doesn't mean that it's real. That's why you have to face your fear.
That's right.
And someone said the cave that you feared is the same cave that holds your treasure.
That's right. Yep.
And everything, I mean, that is awesome about you is at the other side of fear. You have
Yeah.
to face that fear. So this year, and we challenging you. And what is it that you've been afraid of? Because that fear that you see is a mirage. By the
Yeah.
time you take step, the only cure for inaction is action. So as you take action, that's what Jeff did. He took action. He has written and 2 books. I mean, that's awesome. And he's warming up to do the 3rd one now. And that's awesome. So not taking action is an action on itself. And
Yeah.
that's why we want to take action. So Jeff, what is the greatest lesson that you have learned as a leader in your life?
Yeah. I mean, and kind of going into fear some more, I was doing a lot of reading, like I was mentioning, but Shola Richards talked about, got into detail about the bison and talking about fear. And a lot of you might already know the story, but when there's storms that are coming, and just different things that are, really, the storm being both physical and a metaphorical storm, but the bison, they know that the storm's approaching, and they're going to run right through the storm. They're going to go right through that storm. Why? Because when they do that, they're going to be in that, uncomfortable space where they don't know what's going on for as limited time as possible. If they run right through it. Now, What I've learned though is I would be somebody that would run from the storm, and I would try to just go the other way and just try to, and sometimes I would find shelter and I would dodge the storm and I would be okay that time. But that fear is still there, and that storm is still coming. Another storm will come if that other one passes. So it just realized that, hey, if I'm going to grow and if I'm going to be able to help other people, if I'm going to help advance the kingdom, if I'm going to try to be part of this positive ripple effect and positive momentum, I need to go and chase my storms down and run after them versus run from them. I need to go ahead and be, for me to be a good, solid leader, I need to make sure I'm still growing, and you grow through learning, and you grow through failure. And you're going to fail through those storms a lot of times too, but that's okay as long as you don't quit. So that's kind of been my biggest takeaway is, the storms come, they're not fun. They're not easy, but it's best when you do run through them.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, because if he that runs away live to fight another day.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the thing about encouraging our viewers, whatever is it that you've been afraid of, and it's time to face it. It's time to face it, because the most important thing is, we talk about the other side of the coin. You have to look at the other side of fear.
Yeah.
So because oh, what if? Then you have to move from what if to even if.
Yeah.
You have to move from one day, I'm going to do this. The other side of the coin is saying day one.
That's right.
You have to change it. You have to change the narrative. So those little adjustments, I think that's what the other side of the coin is all about, is just saying things from a different perspective. Like we said, how you view life is how you will do life. Before we leave, Jeff, I wanted to share, how has mentorship impacted your life, and what has been the effect of mentorship and on your growth as a leader? How has been that impact of mentorship, and who are the mentors that you look up to? Thank you.
Yeah, so mentorship has been significant for me, for my growth, for my accountability. And I'll even say at 6 o'clock this morning, I met with 3 great guys, just trying to, lift each other up, both in prayer, but also just hold each other accountable. We're going to be going through Jesus, the high road leader. So it's just having that as an option, but the mentorship has given a great access to so many other very experienced leaders in their own right. Gives just so much opportunity, both in actual live calls and pre-recorded calls.
Yeah.
There's you can't physically tap into everything that's available for you. It'd be like drinking from a fire hose. But it's been, even things like this, and just getting to hang out with you today. It's been a blessing to be able to share life with you and to get to just learn from one another, and that's been fantastic.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's the great thing. Jeff, you've been such a great guest today. And just before we leave, tell the viewers how they can connect with you. And maybe someone is listening to you right now that, wow, I would like to really know how to be in touch with you. So how can they connect with you? I know where to find you. How can they find you? Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a website, coastalleadershipcoaching.com. You can also search that on Facebook, or Jeff Williamson on Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok even. So all the platforms, both my books, Still Marinating and The Other Side of the Coin, both on Amazon for purchase. But just excited about being able to help whomever out, and look forward to the new year.
Do you have a copy of your books?
Yeah,
let them see it so that at least sure, that's it.
So
wow, that was beautiful. That was too short. I want them to see it very well. So you guys can see that. The first one is Still Marinating. So when we were talking on Saturday, I thought he was just having a conversation. I didn't know that was the title of the book. Wow. And the other one, the other side of the coin, those are
Yeah.
great to read. And we're going to put the link in this podcast. Because let me tell you, it's a new year. You need to start the new book, reading great books that will change your life.
Yeah.
Books are meant to be read. You can learn a lot, from books. I've been privileged to have written 11 books, and I know what books have done to me. I read 10 books every day. It's such a joy. When you are reading books, it's like you are rubbing mine. You can take Jeff home with you. You're gonna have fun with Jeff's wife. But guess what? You can take Jeff's book with you.
That's right.
2 of the books, and the wife will be happy about that.
That's right.
The wife will not be happy when you take Jeff home. You got me? So that's the beauty of a book.
Yeah.
You can eat your cake and have it. You can take Jeff home and keep him through his book. This is how we grow. So I want to challenge you. Don't be careless about your personal development. So I want to recommend still Marinating for you, and also The Other Side of the Coin by Jeff Williamson. And this book is going to change your life. Jeff, we want to say thank you for making time out to share with us your leadership journey and how mentorship has impacted your life.
Yeah.
And I believe that, this passion that you have is going to change so many lives. And many people are going to hear this podcast. They're going to tap into that. So thank you so much, and for the time that you spent with us today. And we look forward to having you again as we call upon you next time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah. So viewers, until we come your way with another speaker next week, don't forget, it's not enough to learn. We need to take action and apply what we learn, because that is the only way transformation can happen. This is Dr. Michael Koku signing off, and I will see you next week. Thank you.